The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. H.P. Lovecraft. The year is 1926, and it is the height of the Roaring Twenties. Flappers dance till dawn in a smoke-filled speakeasy, drinking alcohol supplied by rum runners and the mob. It's a celebration to end all celebrations and the aftermath of the war to end all wars. Yet a dark shadow grows in the city of Arkham. Alien entities known as the Ancient Ones lurk in the emptiness beyond space and time, writhing at the gates between worlds. Only a handful of investigators stand against the Arkham horror. Will they prevail? Welcome! Hello, everyone.
Hello.
We're back.
Hello.
Yay.
Woo!
We're finally back after a short break. We're really excited about the new show and the new lineup that we have. We've got a few little changes, but I think it'll have all of the same things that you've always loved. Well, to start off with, I'd like to talk about our new lineup here. Let everybody introduce themselves. First off, Deb.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. I'm DeFebwar. I've been on I was on a couple times in the first iteration as a guest, and I'm happy to be back again. This show is amazing. If you haven't seen it before, you're in for a real treat. So I stream here on Twitch full time, and I don't know, art and stuff, and some heroes here and there. So looking forward to this show, though. It's going to be awesome.
All right, great. Nikki, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, I thought we were like going to go in an order. I wasn't ready. No,
I know,
fine.
sorry.
Impromptu. My name's Nikki. I also go by Alori or Al, because Alori is hard to say. So Al works too. I've never been on this show, so I'm super excited to join and check it out. I absolutely love board games, so I can't wait to really geek out and kind of build these decks, get to know the characters. But yeah, I'm super excited. Thanks for letting me join.
All right. Yeah, we're glad to have you guys. And then Joe.
Hi, I'm Joe. No, I don't really have any kind of online presence in any way. Kind of a dork that way, but play a lot of board games, especially with Game Face, who is my brother. I have to admit. I was told I had to admit that.
Legally.
Have to admit it. I think it was on the show once before, on one show.
What was the game that you played?
I think we played Arkham, the board game, and you weren't there. It was Gilly, Ogre, and I. And yep, I'm excited. This game is one of the better games I've played in a recent time. And Game Face and I play a lot of board games, so we're pretty excited about this one.
Cool. All right. Well, and of course, I'm Game Face Killer or Gabe, and I was on the original show hosting with Gilly and Ogre Yonder. And of course, now Gilly has absolutely 0% time left in her busy schedule.
Too cool.
Exactly.
Diva. So that's what I call her.
Yeah, so we've had some changes, but they're always welcome back anytime. So let's get to the new show format.
Gabe, your mic is maybe the wrong mic.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, it looks like you might be using your webcam mic.
Am I better? Am I back now?
Hopefully, we'll have to wait for chat to catch up. I think it's like 12 to 15 seconds behind, something like that. We got it, though.
All
hopefully.
Right. Yeah. So let us know if the mic messes up again.
Cool.
We do have the veterans in chat, though. Ogre and Gilly. Hey, guys.
Yes.
Hey, guys. It's good to see you.
See a bunch of my people, too. Very excited.
All the cool people.
Yeah.
Same-ish.
All right.
It's like a sandwich, but same-ish.
So should I wait any longer? Any problems?
Maybe just turn up your mic?
Yeah, can you turn up your mic with the slider, or is it all the way up?
Yeah, it's all the way up. That's interesting.
And the source that's selected in the mixer is your headset?
On the Zoom?
No, on OBS.
Let me see.
Because Stream isn't getting it through Zoom. They're getting it through OBS.
Okay.
Ogre says it sounds good. Maybe it's not bad.
I don't know.
Talk louder.
Hello, hello.
When you turn your throat volume up,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That could be my problem.
Just be in caps lock IRL.
Let's see.
In OBS, right where it shows you your mic volume, if you click the little cog
Oh, I
thingy,
gotcha.
it should show you which mic is selected.
Okay. Let me check that.
your friend Bewilderbeast says it sounds fine, Gabe.
Okay.
All right, we should
Nice
go. We
to
got
see
it.
her.
How about now? Is this... Hopefully it's working now. I actually selected the right device, I think, so let me know if it's not working. It's the only mic besides my camera, so...
I think it's good.
All right.
There we go. Conan confirmed.
All
so we
right.
got it. Gucci.
Yay!
Slight
Problem
technical
solving.
problem. Yeah, that's what I get for trying to...
Production value.
That's what I get for trying to mess with things while I'm talking. All right.
This is team building. We're getting ready for the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Setting the mood.
Yes, exactly.
So as when we were on the hiatus, we kind of talked about some ideas we had for the show when we came back, and one of the things we often found was that because we were playing only one game per week, we didn't really get a chance to look kind of into the deeper elements of the game, and a lot of times people would right at the end of the game say something to the effect of, "Oh, now I get it, how to play," and so it was sad because we had to move on to another game. So what we decided to do was, instead of having one game per week, we're going to take one game and analyze it in detail over several weeks so that we can better explore kind of the deep and engaging narratives that exist in some of the really great thematic games out there. We also wanted to show that board games have some really great and exciting story and role-playing opportunities just as much as traditional role-playing games, which I know are very popular on streams, especially on Misscliks. There's also the idea that there's something really cool about this game in particular that we'll talk about, where there's a sort of a campaign mode that has a lot of in-between game things that go on that really make the game cool as well. And of course, because we have that exciting story, we're kind of hoping that we'll kind of have everybody on the edge of their seat, maybe dreading the inevitable cliffhanger that'll have us hanging until the next episode. So before we get started with the game, I just wanted to take a moment to plug for our benevolent hosts. We're part of the Misscliks channel. Misscliks is a fantastic organization working to promote equality and female empowerment in gaming. They have a great lineup of highly thematic and thrilling content, like streaming Dungeons & Dragons sessions and Let's Plays. But we really think they're such a great family to be a part of. They're very helpful, and they helped us get started up again, and we've had a lot of fun working with them. So we wanted to make sure they got their props for sure.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Agreed.
all right. So this game is set in the world of H.P. Lovecraft. If you're not familiar with him, he was a horror writer who wrote. He was a few decades after Edgar Allan Poe, but was really influenced by him. But he himself is very influential in a lot of modern horror that's out there. A lot of movies and fiction authors are very much influenced by him. The characteristics of his stories is that all of them take place about the time that he lived, which was in the 1920s in the East Coast. There was a fictional town where most of his stories took place called Arkham, but there were some other surrounding areas and towns as well. In his stories, there are ancient gods that are stirring in their slumber, and they're so powerful we just can't even comprehend what a threat they could possibly be to us. If they do wake up, they'll destroy all of mankind in the blink of an eye, and we're basically powerless to stop them. The people that we usually play in these types of games are common, everyday people. They don't have superhuman powers. You might have someone who has about as exotic of a job as like a federal investigator. That's about it. But we're pretty much common, everyday people. We have to use our minds, but they're also very fragile as well as our bodies. And it doesn't take long usually before corruption and trauma ends up destroying us. There's not much hope for victory in a world like this, but The only real achievable goal is to stem the tide of madness for another day.
Uplifting.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
This is so-
Hopeful.
Great speech, Coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, basically, the Arkham here horror games have been produced by Fantasy Flight Games, and as you can see behind me, hopefully, I do have 2 copies of the game. This is always a good time to point out that on Tabletop Simulator, we do make sure to purchase copies of the game that we use, so we're not pirating or shorting the people who work really hard. There's some great art on these games too, and great themes and great writing, so we definitely want to give credit by making sure we purchase those copies that we use. If you like this game, there's all other games that they produce, like Arkham Horror, Eldritch Horror, Elder Sign, Mansions of Madness. There's a ton out there.
Fun.
And almost
Yeah.
all of them are cooperative, so yeah, there is a lot of fun out there to be had. So we're ready to get to this game in particular, so I'm going to go ahead and take us to our game window. And this is a pretty cool setup, as you can see. But this game takes place in the city of Arkham. We are going to be playing investigators, and we'll pick our investigators here in just a little bit. The type of game that Arkham Horror, the card game is guess what? It's a card game. It's actually a game that they refer to as an LCG, which is a living card game. So if you're familiar with card games like Magic, it's similar to that because each player does build their deck. And so the idea is you want to try to tool your deck to be the most efficient and powerful as possible to be able to win. But of course, since it's cooperative, we're not winning against each other. Like Magic, we're trying to win against the game, which can be very difficult. An LCG is different from a collectible card game because in a collectible card game, they're trying to steal all your money by making you buy booster packs where you might get a rare, you might not. In the living card game, what you actually do is they give you a set of cards. Everybody has the same sets of cards if you buy a pack, and it all becomes a kind of a battle a mental battle, a battle of wits in order to build the best deck. So it really allows for, it's not so much luck or whoever has the most money, but whoever can build the best deck against any other decks. Or in this case, the best deck to go up against the ancient ones. Now the cool thing about this game is that each character deck can be customized and is sort of like a role-playing game character. So for example, if you want to be a tough guy who talks with his fists or a baseball bat, you got it. You want to be a book nerd who finds libraries more comfortable than brawling with interdimensional beings, you can do that too. Every deck can be customized to fit a wide variety of options, so you can bring your character to life. There's really only a little bit of sort of rules regarding how you can build your deck exactly that makes it a little easier actually to pick from all the cards they have available. But every character has like a major class and then a subclass, and that's basically the only thing that defines what cards you have to pick from. In addition, the thing that makes this game kind of terrifying and scary is, in addition to the positive cards you build in your deck, you are required, based on the character that you pick, to include some weakness cards. And these are past traumas that can suddenly appear as you're playing the game, and they show up as a surprise at usually the most inconvenient time. They can do things like make you face a tough decision, they can give you a crippling penalty at just the worst possible time, or they can give you a task that can put you at odds with the rest of your investigation group because it distracts from the main mission, which is usually to save the world, right? I mean, it's that serious. So every character has their own demons, their own unique resources, and their own strengths. So every time you pick a character, they get a unique weakness and a unique special card. So if you choose to play a different character, you'll have a different experience every time, even if you play the same mission. Whenever we play a game, it's called a scenario, and each of those scenarios is a basic sort of plot arc that takes place in Arkham. And the sessions can take place by racing around town, or sometimes they can take place, like this first one, right in your own home. Scenarios can be linked together into kind of a campaign. And what's cool is after every scenario you gain experience, and you can spend those XP to buy upgrade cards. So what they do is they'll either replace a basic card with a more improved version, or there are some cards that are only available to purchase with XP. You can never start with them. Some of the campaigns are as short as 3 scenarios, like the starting one that we're going to take a look at here, but they can be as long as 8. I think the standard campaigns are 8 scenarios long, so they can be quite a long story, and you can really develop your character and put lots of cool cards in and kind of tune them, and they can actually be really powerful. I think you can become quite attached to them. There's Yeah, which is not good in this kind of world.
They die.
When you're playing an investigator, they can be defeated one of 2 ways. They can either be hurt physically, or they can be hurt mentally and go insane. If you are hurt enough, you can actually completely be defeated and destroyed, which means that you have to start with a completely new character on the next scenario. And that's basically back to 0 XP, so you don't have any of the upgrade cards in your deck. That would be unfortunate. Hopefully that doesn't happen to any of us.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. So whenever we play a scenario, we'll play basically in rounds, and every round has 4 phases. And then we'll keep playing rounds over and over until we progress through the story, and we either win the day or we're defeated by the overwhelming forces of evil. Once we pick our decks, we'll each get a starting hand of 5 cards and 5 resources. Those are basically what you spend to buy cards from your hand to put them into play. Each round, I'm just going to go over the basic round really quickly, and then we'll get started picking characters, just so you guys kind of have an idea of how it works. The first phase is always the bad guy phase. It's called the Mythos phase. This is when the bad shit goes down. The forces of evil will progress toward their objectives, and we also have to race against the clock to stop them. So we'll have a little bit of a time factor in it that we'll have to watch, and then each of us also has to draw an encounter card, which is always something bad that happens to each of us. Sometimes it'll be a bad test that we have to do, or something that will suddenly appear, or if we're really unlucky, there'll be an enemy that'll pop up in our room, and we'll have to deal with that as well.
And we'll just let the people know, like, our first turn, we'll go through these again in detail.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
The nice thing about that horrible Mythos phase is that we get to skip it the first round of every scenario, which is nice. Next comes the investigator phase, and this is the main part of the round where each one of us gets to act. The players actually get to decide every round who gets to go first and second and third, which is nice. So we can change it up if we feel like someone else needs to go first in a certain round. When a player goes, they get 3 actions. They can do everything from drawing a card or taking an extra resource, more than they normally get every round. They can activate a card ability. They can investigate their location. Investigation is something that gathers clues for us that either represents rumors or research or some kind of documents that help us solve the mystery that we're currently trying to solve. It does require a skill check to do that, which we'll go into later. You can also spend an action to move from one location to another. In this first scenario, we'll be moving from room to room in a house, but later on we'll be moving from location to location within a town. So it can kind of zoom in or out depending on the scenario. You can also play a card out of your hand, which costs, of course, resources and one of your actions to play a card. If there are enemies on the board, you can engage them. So this is a game where we'll need to have the tougher characters aggro enemies so that they can keep them off the weaker players. You can fight an enemy, and you can also evade an enemy, which is really cool. I love this ability because you can actually distract an enemy long enough so that they can't attack during their turn for a round. So it's a pretty fun ability to
it like exhausts them for the rest of the turn.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they miss out on their attack, which is nice. After we each get 3 actions, then we go to an enemy phase, and so if there's any enemies that aren't exhausted from being evaded, they will get a chance to move around possibly and attack us. Then the final phase is the upkeep phase, and this is when there are some cards that when you use them, you have to exhaust them, which is called tapping them or turning them sideways. And at this point, you will get to unexhaust all of your cards, and each enemy also unexhausts. Unfortunately, we draw cards and resources. Every player gets 1 of each. And then if you have more than 8 cards, you have to discard back down to 8. Everything else is basically repeated in that cycle until we either solve the mystery, figure out what we need to do to win the game, or of course we lose, which is a very real possibility. Cooperative games tend to be a lot harder than other types of games because, it's usually everyone against the game for sure. The only other thing I was going to mention is that when I keep talking about this idea of stories, us progressing stories, there are 2 decks at the top of the game, every scenario. I'm pointing at them up here. The deck on the left is called the agenda deck, and this is the bad guy deck. This is the one we don't want to progress. So this is the nefarious forces that are slowly building and leading towards our doom. And our goal is to slow this deck down as much as possible to avoid this deck from progressing. On the flip side, we have on the other side of the board the act deck. This is our deck, and our goal is to progress through this deck as quickly as we can, figure out what we need to do to go from one stage to the next, and then hopefully get through the end before the agenda deck progresses too far. The idea is that we always want to try to be further along in the plot deck, in our plot deck, the act deck, than the agenda deck, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. We've just got to try to go as fast as we can. In addition to having shows where we'll play games like tonight, we're going to actually play a game. We'll also do some inter-show, meta-show gaming, where we'll have an episode once in a while where we will actually work on building our decks and kind of talk about what we think are some good strategies depending on the characters that we're playing, and we'll kind of explain a little bit about how that works and how people can spend experience points to improve their decks, and what are some sort of things to think about when it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, I like that because I think eventually you'll get to know, since we're keeping these same characters through several scenarios, everyone will be featured on a show, and so hopefully after a while you'll know everybody and what's in their deck, and
yeah, exactly.
That'd be cool.
And I think it'll be one of the really cool things about the show to show the game, because I think a lot of reviews, they just kind of talk about the game in general, what it's like to play a scenario, but they don't really go into a whole lot of campaign discussion and analysis, which is cool.
Cool.
All right, so at this point, I thankfully am done babbling, and now we're at the point. I know. I hate this part. This was my least favorite part, and I love the idea of it only happening like every once in a while now instead of every episode. So, in front of you, we have 5 investigators that we have to choose from. Each investigator, like I said earlier, has a major class, sort of a main class, and a subclass, and basically that determines what kind of cards can go in their deck. I'll just kind of talk to you about what the cards look like on the front. At the top of each card, you have 4 attributes. Your willpower, which is kind of how you deal with this whole idea of Arkham horror and your sanity. The second one is intelligence. That has to do with investigating and your research skills. The third one is combat. It looks like a fist. It is a fist, a fury. And that is what you'll do to fight monsters usually, or do a strength check. The final one is a winged foot. It's an agility. That's your agility, and that determines how good you are at evading. And there's some reflex checks, things like that. Every character has a main ability, which is listed on the top of their card, and then below that, if you see the little elder sign, looks like a kind of a star. That is an effect that comes up during certain skill checks if you're lucky enough to draw that token. And then below that, you have your starting health and starting sanity. So the higher the number, obviously, the better you are at either health or sanity. I'm really good at health, by the way. So
your guy?
What I thought we could do is, since there's only 5 characters, I thought maybe we could kind of flip them over and introduce them and maybe read the backstory. If you guys do you guys want to take turns do that?
Sure.
Yeah, do people already know what they're playing? I was going to pick very last and just try and fill in whatever role.
Well, what I figured we could do is read all 5 and then maybe disclose what we're thinking about. I have not picked either. I haven't even thought about it, actually.
Okay, you're not like, once someone picks it, then you'll have them read their character stuff.
I guess we could start with what we're kind of thinking about. So if someone wants to start with the one they're thinking about. Does anyone want to go first?
No.
I feel like I'm in my class. I feel like I'm in my classroom.
Well, I can go first.
Okay.
I really liked Daisy, mostly because she's a librarian. Like, that's the first thing I saw. I didn't look at any
nice.
stats. I was just like, hey, librarian sounds geeky. I identify with this.
Yeah.
So Daisy sounded great.
That's one of
But
the
I
best
think-
ways to pick a character, I think.
Yeah.
I just like the way it looks, and I love that idea of the job. That's cool.
She kind of looks like Hermione. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. She's nerdy. She's booky. But yeah, I like the idea of somebody who's like into the researching. I think we talked about what the little globe meant earlier. And
the Seekers.
Yeah.
The Seeker class. Yeah.
So let me I'll flip your card upside down so we can kind of see what it looks like on the back. There's a little bit of description about how you can build your deck, and the Seekers are, of course, have the little globe icon. And we'll kind of talk about those in a little bit. And then you're also like a Mystic subclass, a little bit of a spellcaster.
Sweet. I like that I get a tote bag.
Yeah, your special
That's pretty legit.
special item is a tote bag.
Just to carry around more books and tomes
Yeah.
and clues, I guess, right?
It's a tote bag, but you also have the Necronomicon.
That's
And
true.
That's true.
It's not a good thing either to have the that's your weakness.
Wait,
Yeah.
why?
Oh, you'll see.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's one of those bad books, those banned books, but for good reason. But for good
I
reason.
see.
Do you want to read your background?
Sure. As a respected librarian at Miskatonic University, Daisy had always felt that books were the most important thing in her life. She explored in fiction what she abhorred in life: horror, violence, and fear. Then she stumbled across John Dee, translation of the Necronomicon. It was blasphemous, unholy, and too awful to be real. But given her studies in obscure and occult subjects, Daisy knew there was more truth than fiction within the book's pages. She began to wonder what other secrets the restricted collection at the Orne Library held.
Nice.
Ooh,
Mysterious.
It's kind of a bad girl.
I like it. She
Yeah.
sounds cool.
Yeah.
Reading those bad books. Come
Yeah.
on.
Big rebel, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's good. She's going to be our investigator. I think that's her strength. Grabbing clues.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Does anyone want to go next?
I can go next.
All right. You're looking at Wendy, huh?
Yes, I like Wendy. She's a street urchin. All right, she's scrappy.
Yeah.
She also, like my player icon, is red, which is great. Color coordinating. This is
Got it.
energy in Tabletop Simulator. All right, guys, we got this. She's a 7/7. She's pretty balanced.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole heck of a lot about her, but she's a drifter. And do you want me to read the back of her card?
Yeah.
Okay. I was skimming it and it looks interesting. Mama used to let Wendy play with her necklace when she was small. Mama would tell her stories, and Wendy would spin the necklace and I can't read through the hands. That's all. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
And Wendy would I guess I can just press Alt. I'm dumb.
Sorry.
Wendy would spin the necklace and watch as it glittered. Then word came that her father had been lost at sea, and Mama started acting strange, drawing unusual symbols in chalk all over the house. They took Mama to the asylum, and Wendy went to the orphanage. Before they took her away, Mama gave her the necklace to protect her. Wendy stayed in the orphanage for several years before running away, deciding that she could take better care of herself on her own.
She's good.
Yeah.
She's the
She's a
survivor.
badass. Yeah. I'm a survivor.
They're kind of wily, tricky. They kind of do a little bit of everything. They're really cool. The survivor class.
Yeah.
Your
I like-
weakness makes
she
me
has a
sad,
fun
though.
life.
Yes.
Abandoned and alone.
Oh, yeah.
Aww.
I think I have to stay with people or something. Wasn't there something about that? I don't know.
I can't. Yeah, I can't remember what that.
You'll
card
find out.
is.
It's fun.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I can't remember now. What that is.
I had a feeling that there was something like I didn't want to be alone for some reason when we were looking at this before, but
That sounds familiar.
yeah.
All right, Joe.
No, you. I'm last
Well,
because I really have no idea. I just want to.
well, did you? I guess we had talked about I might try the Fed. Is that all right?
Oh, it's the one I wanted to do, but I guess.
Oh,
I'm
fight to the death.
I'm perfectly happy with doing one of the other characters as well.
No, go for it. I think it's kind of rough because in this core set, I think the Fed is just if you know his ability, it's so good. It's like one of those like you just almost have to have the guy, which is kind of common in Arkham games. They always have somebody. It seems like you just can't.
Yeah,
pass
really
up.
powerful. Yeah.
But yeah, go for it.
All right, so Roland Banks is a Fed, of course. Everything by the book, every I dotted, every T crossed. It had worked until now. Roland had always taken comfort in procedure and rules. As an agent in the Bureau, he was relieved to have guidelines to follow in every given situation. But lately, the Federal Agent's Handbook had been entirely unhelpful given the cases he'd been assigned. Try as he might, Roland could find no mention of what to do when confronted with strange creatures, gates through time and space, or magic spells. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed it, and there's no way his superiors would understand. Roland knew he would have to handle this one himself. So I don't like the idea of my weakness is called cover up. So obviously I've got some problems with being honest. Apparently.
What?
Yeah.
No, he's the Guardian class. They're just pretty tough. They're fighters, I think, and I'm gonna have fun with this guy, role playing wise.
Yeah, there you go.
I also have to ask you: are you already in character yet? I know you just picked him, but I have a million questions.
Sure.
Where you like, what do you hate more, people that violate prohibition or agents of Cthulhu?
Wow.
Ooh, that's a tough one for back then. Well, my corruption might be that I'm kind of doing a little bit of side moonlighting, maybe rum running.
If you saw like a cultist drinking whiskey, what would your first arrest be? Would it be for the whiskey?
That's a good question. It depends.
All right.
Yeah, it would. I guess I'd have to think about it. It would depend on maybe I wouldn't mind if they flashed me some fivers or something. I don't know.
Take a little bribe on the side.
Yeah.
Man, so that leaves the two left are, who is it? Skids O'Toole.
Unfortunate name.
What a name. Yeah.
That might rule him. Or there's Agnes Baker. I have trouble. I might let people help me. Skids he's the rogue class.
Mm-hmm.
They're very good at agility, I think, and evading monsters, which I don't know. We may need more kill power, I think, with what we've picked so far.
And apparently he just got out of the joint.
Yes, that's always tough. And I don't know how well he's going to go with the Fed. They may not.
Yeah.
Or it could be
The ultimate buddy cop
friendship
movie.
for right. But Agnes is the spellcaster, right? I think she's the mystic, so she's going to be heavy on spells. And thing that hesitates on that is if I remember Arkham games, they will punish you when you cast spells. There's always a bad side effect.
There's always a price.
Chat's voting for Skids, I think.
Yeah.
We got one Skids.
Yeah, we got a couple Skids.
I think we got this
Okay.
buddy cop dynamic going already.
Do we? Are we going to have to go with that?
Well, I'm the cop. I mean, we got, what do they call that? 48 Hours? No one remembers that
yeah.
movie.
Oh, Gilly said Agnes is rough. She's reliant on luck of the draw.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
Skids. Nobody's allowed to call me Skid Marks then.
We can call you Skid Row.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll
And
take
then you
that.
can be best friends with my street urcin.
Yeah,
'Cause
there you
she's
go.
Oh, that makes sense. We'll make fun of the
Oh, I like
prohibition
this.
agent together.
Yeah.
Okay. Well then, Skids. Let's see. Skids hadn't planned on a life of crime, but sometimes doing the right thing means getting your hands dirty. The cops didn't care that Skids needed the money for his mother's operation. His mother died of her illness during the second year of his sentence. His cellmate, Brad Hollis, told him there were worse fates than death. He ranted and raved in a quiet voice every evening about the old ones and told Skids about bizarre adventures he'd had while dreaming. Skids didn't give it much thought until the night he woke to the sight of his cellmate bursting into flames. When Skids was finally released, he returned
Lucky,
to
no big
Arkham
deal. Just
looking
on
for
fire over
answers.
here.
All right, you win Best Background Award.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense.
There we go.
Just a pile of ash.
On the lamb is my weakness. I don't know if I remember it, but I think it sucks. All the weaknesses do.
Yeah.
So see, I'm not that bad. I just did stuff because of Mom's.
Wait, on the lamb isn't a weakness, is it?
Yeah, that's what my weak. It's going to be a
No, I
card in
think-
my deck.
I think on.
Oh, was
your
it?
Positive.
I think your debt is pretty
yeah,
bad.
the hospital.
Oh,
debt.
hospital debts. Ow. Why would he
Bummer.
care about paying those now? That's not very. It doesn't.
I don't know. Just swap identities with the burning in flames guy. They won't know,
Yeah.
right? How
Yeah,
great
that's
were
true.
the dental records back then?
DNA.
We'll say I did that.
No
Are you a
thanks.
con artist though? Like it said you had to get your hands dirty. I mean,
I know.
plausible. There you
Yeah.
go. Debt's gone. Bye.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cthulhu. You gotta have to find another way.
All right. So everyone can go ahead and take their deck and move it over to their
How do I
play area.
shuffle again?
R. Just
R.
hold your cursor over and hit R.
Wow, this is the best.
Yeah, it's very nice. You can put your investigator in your investigator section, although there's not a lot of room all the time.
Oh, that's right. I was in the river last time.
Yeah.
I'm under this bridge troll.
So our decks are like the preset builds that come with it, right? We
Right.
have done no tweaking yet, so
Right. They're the starter
no one
deck.
has to worry about that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And-
but we will.
And if you buy the game, it actually gives you a list of a starter deck, what you should put in your starter deck if you're just playing for the first time, which is really cool. So it's very user friendly, beginner friendly. The only thing that we have to do in addition to your 33 cards that you have, is everyone has to take one of these 10 basic weaknesses that you don't know. So there's always a little bit of random weaknesses, and you'll have this weakness through the whole campaign. So this will be something that bothers you from now until
Boom.
we're finished.
Not even gonna look.
And then you can just shuffle your whole deck.
Wait, so we'll just take one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
one.
because he shuffled it before. Yeah.
All right.
Shuffling is way too satisfying in this game.
Yeah.
It's so
It
good.
is a lot of fun. It is a lot of
Although
fun.
I keep accidentally pressing E, and then I'm like slowly rotating things, and now I'm like, no, it's not straight.
Oops.
You can adjust your rotate in the upper right where the number is, the 90 degrees, if it's too slow.
Oh,
So it'll rotate by 90 degrees or less or more.
nice.
Just change it to 360 degrees and then it'll never rotate anything.
You'll never get anything done.
Yeah. All right. So, since we're beginning a campaign, there's always a kind of a starting story to the campaign, and then there's a story that or background to the part that we're playing, the scenario. So this is the campaign is the Night of the Zealot, and it starts with the Ghoul's Hunger. This is the prologue. Friday, September 18th, 1925, Arkham, Massachusetts. It is the end of a long and abnormally hot summer. The first hints of autumn beckon, but a heavy heat persists, relentless. A silent, unspoken anger grips the town. Tempers are short, and in the last week alone there have been numerous reports of townspeople coming to heated, violent blows with one another over simple misunderstandings. And now a call from James Hankerson. He claims to have found a dismembered body
Oh,
in his
Oh.
barn. Disembodied body in his barn. Blaming the weather would be too easy. There is something wrong with this town, and not a whole lot this old soothsayer can do to stop the tide. My auguries indicate a small group of investigators will soon take note of these strange happenings and set forth to make things right. I'll be watching their progress, but I won't be holding my breath. Well, you know it's bad when your narrator is not really very hopeful that you're going to succeed.
Yeah.
no hope.
So this is Scenario 1, The Gathering. You and your partners have been investigating strange events taking place in your home city of Arkham, Massachusetts. Over the past few weeks, several townspeople have mysteriously gone missing. Recently, their corpses turned up in the woods, savaged and half-eaten. The police and newspapers have stated that wild animals are responsible, but you believe there is something else going on. You are gathered together at the lead investigator's home to discuss these bizarre events. So the first thing you do after you read the scenario instructions is you, for this first scenario, we are all in the study. And so I put all of our investigator cards here in this location. The study says you've been investigating the strange events occurring in Arkham for several days now. Your desk is covered in newspaper articles, police reports, and witness accounts. Then you always want to, the next step after you do that is you want to read the first of the first starting story of the agenda deck, and then the starting paragraph of the act deck to kind of give you an idea of what's going on and what our objectives are.
So overall, there's like an overall campaign story,
Right.
and then we have an individual scenario story
Right.
right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
So overall, like, what was it? The town's just going nuts and
Right.
people are acting crazy.
Deaths,
Okay.
half-eaten bodies, and they don't even have bodies. Disembodied bodies.
Mm,
Narrators,
rough.
lacking motivational skills, that kind of thing.
And so for this particular scenario, we're in a house trying to figure out what's going on.
Exactly. We've all met at my house.
Got it.
Even though I'm not sure. Oh, wait, that's one thing we have to decide whose house this is. That person will be the lead investigator. So every time you play a scenario, you have to pick a lead investigator. So we have to decide whose house this will be.
Well, I will not take orders from a Fed. I'll tell you that.
Whoa.
Well, is this your house? If it's my house, it can't be Deb's house.
Yeah, I don't have
Yeah,
a
that's
house.
that's true. So
That's
she's
the-
eliminated.
Hanging out under the bridge.
Deb, you cannot be the lead investigator, I guess, because you don't know
That's
how to
fine.
own a house.
Wait, do we know that this is one of our houses? Maybe we broke in.
That's
'cause we're
true.
being chased by something.
Well, it does say that you're in the lead investigator's house in the starting
Maybe
story.
it said. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not my house.
Does it have to be Al? Because you and I clearly won't take orders from each
That's
other.
true. Well, let's say,
Sure.
yeah, let's do that because then that way, yeah, we're on neutral ground. So,
Let's do it.
all right,
I have lots of books in my house. I think this sounds right.
that's true.
Deb, I'm
Newspaper,
sorry.
yeah.
Buy a house next time.
Oh, I don't care. That's fine. I don't investigator.
There you go.
I get to be lead street urchin. Let's go.
There you go.
Get out me, ex-con.
All right. So the first part of the agenda deck says, "What's going on?" It is late at night. You're holed up in your study, researching the bloody disappearances that have been taking place in the region. A few hours into your research, you hear the sound of strange chanting coming from your parlor down the hall. At the same time, you hear dirt churning as if something were digging beneath the floor. All of a sudden, you're trapped. As you leap up to investigate, the door to your study vanishes before your eyes, leaving behind only solid wall. You're trapped inside your study until you can find another way out.
Oh, door gone.
Exactly. So,
Super creepy.
yeah, whenever characters enter a location, which technically we were at the beginning, but I waited to flip it over till now, you always flip over the location to reveal it, and that tells you a couple of things. The number on the left in a black circle tells you how difficult it is to search for clues in that room. That's called the shroud value. So if a room has a really high shroud value, it's either obscured or it has so many things to search through that it's going to be really difficult. The number on the right in the sort of, I don't know, was that tan circle? That tells you how many clues there are in our room. So there's 2 clues, and then you'll see the little investigator with the hat symbol. That means that you put 2 clues per investigator in the room. So we start off with 8 clues.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot to investigate here. Now, if you look at the act deck, that actually tells us at the bottom of that deck, it says how many clues we need to find until we can figure our way out. So it's kind of an abstract way of keeping track of us actually researching, trying to figure out what the spell is or some, whatever mystical thing is happening, and then figure out how to counter it. So in order to successfully pass this stage of the quest, we need to mystery, whatever. We've got to actually investigate and find 8 clues. So we've got to find every single one of these clues that's in this room in order to get out of it.
All right.
Nice. I never knew there were so many clues in my study.
Exactly.
Should have paid more attention.
Well, you've obviously been doing
You're
good
a hoarder.
research.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
My nose in a book the whole time.
I lost connection, but I'm coming back in. Go ahead.
All
Sorry.
right. That's okay. All right. So,
You're just gonna burst out into song. Beauty and the Beast. We got Belle in the house.
Ooh.
So, at this point, all we have to do is decide who's going to go first, and then that person is going to get 3 actions. But before we do that, I just realized, did everybody draw their 5 cards?
Oh no.
Yeah, I forgot to do that. So if you hold your cursor over your deck, you can just hit the number 5, and it'll automatically pop 5 cards into your hand.
Yay. Okay.
I'm still trying to connect.
Okay.
What's going on?
So one of the things that you can do at the beginning of the game when you draw your initial starting hand, you can do what's called a mulligan. If you don't like your cards or any one of your cards, you can put them to the side and then draw a replacement. So you're going to start with 5, but you get to actually decide if you would like a different card. You can draw replacement cards one time. So you would so if you didn't like, for example, 2 of your cards, you'd set 2 aside, draw 2 new cards, and then shuffle the other 2 back into your deck. And so...
I have a question.
Yeah.
If I drew an enemy, what happens?
Oh, I think what you do is if you drew a
We all
card...
die. We're dead.
Yeah.
Game
I think-
over.
I think what you did is you drew one of your weaknesses, which is the other thing to remember.
No.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Because if you draw
Because you
your...
auto shuffle that, right?
Exactly. If you draw your weakness, you automatically get to set it aside and replace it.
Oh, thank goodness.
So, yeah, so you...
Even if you've already replaced, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the nice thing is that players never have to worry about starting with weaknesses.
Okay. So I just set it to the side and draw one more.
Yes.
Great.
And then if anybody wants to mulligan, they can just set aside however many cards they want. Usually a good rule of thumb is if you have some really expensive cards, the cost is up in the upper left. That can usually be a factor. Or if you have no asset cards, you might want to mulligan some. I'm actually going to keep
artwork on these is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm showing everyone at home my cards while you guys are mulliganing or not.
I'm good.
Okay, cool. As you can see in the top left-hand corner of each card, it also tells you the type. So it'll either be asset, skill, or event. And assets are kind of played permanently in front of you once you pay for them, and events are one time and then they disappear or discard. And then skill cards are played during skill checks only, and they can give you a nice boost on them. Did you get back in, Joe?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I went ahead and did my hand, and I did my
Okay,
mulligan,
cool. And
so
everyone has 5 resources in front of them, these little cartons, and that's your starting resource. So now we just got to decide who goes first.
yeah, the first turn it kind of. I mean, obviously nothing's out, so it kind of doesn't matter too much who goes first. But if anybody wants to, any takers? You or I, maybe Gabe, since we're a bit more familiar.
Sure, go ahead. Why don't you go ahead, and that way I can...
Okay, and I'll try and run through my turn a little slower the first time or two. So, as we may or may not remember, investigators get any 3 actions. There's a list of them. We have cards. You could basically do any 1, any 2, repeat, but you basically get 3 unless cards say something different. So, since there's no monsters out or anything, I think it's a good idea to equip some stuff. That's what I'm going to do. Actually, I'm going to... Oh, sorry. I'm going to play...
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and why did you decide to do that as opposed to like investigating the room?
Well, I'm probably going to do an investigate,
Okay.
but I guess the order doesn't really matter now. But one thing to keep in mind is when monsters are out, you're pretty limited on your actions. If you have a monster that's encountered you, you basically either have to fight it or try to evade it. If you do any of your other actions with the monster kind of in your face, he's going to get a free attack on you.
Right.
So it's always good to get equipped before monsters start coming out. So for my first action, I'm going to choose the play a card from my hand, and I'm going to play the Emergency Cache, which is an event card that basically just lets me get 3 resources.
Yeah, it's a nice.
Rich.
And thankfully, it doesn't cost anything. It only costs you
Right.
3 resources. No, I'm kidding.
And the really good thing, and I guess everyone could do this on their turn because it's one thing we forgot to cover, but every investigator has their own special action they can do. And for my guy, his kind of special ability is during my turn, I can spend 2 resources that will let me take 1 more action. So I could get up to 4, while you poor bastards are stuck with 3.
That is a pretty nice special ability.
Yeah, if you got the funds, so it's good to get this guy a lot of funds, it seems.
And that ability actually has a little squiggle line. It looks like a little lightning bolt, which that's a reaction action, which means it doesn't cost an action to do that.
Right, they're called fast actions in the
fast
game.
actions, yeah.
So we played that. Am I even a good investigator? I'm okay.
So investigation is used with the book icon, which is your intelligence. So you're a 3, not too bad.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I like this guy because he's got the dirty weapons. I'm gonna put on a Derringer that costs 3 resources.
Nice. Now,
So my second action is equipping something.
So one nice thing about the cards too, or one thing that's important to note, is in the bottom right-hand corner there are symbols that denote if any equipment is equipped on you. So, for example, a Derringer takes up 1 hand. If you now Joe only has 1 other hand to use with an equipment. And then his hands are full. Obviously, he's got his hands full. So you have to keep track of that as a limitation in playing assets too.
Yeah,
Looks like you have some nice nail polish on.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Hey, I was in prison for a time. Don't ask. The Derringer's limited though. It does help me in combat. We'll see how it works, but it has 3 ammo. Once it's out, it's done.
Yeah, it's got
So
3 shots.
kind of sucks that way. But you know what's cool about this guy is he's got all the weapons. I've also got a switchblade, baby. And it doesn't cost an action because it's fast to equip it.
That's some nice ink you got on you.
Yeah.
Yep. So I got the weapons, and that'll help me fight a little bit too. Takes up my other hand. So technically, I've still only used 2 actions. Now I'm going to investigate. We got to get this room clear.
Just really quick so like Joe said, this card can be played without using an action because it has the fast trait. And in addition, now that he's played it, for a future action, it has that black arrow, which is another action. So he can now use that as an action to fight, and he has a little bit of a bonus if he uses the switchblade to fight with.
Yeah.
Or
that's cool.
Yeah, or he could use the Derringer, but he can't use both on the same action. So that's how they get you to kind of choose which only 1 weapon for each attack. Unfortunately.
Euronin says my nickname's Skids Manny Petty. Yeah.
I love it.
Better than skid marks, I guess.
Yeah.
So for my last action, or maybe it won't be, we'll decide that.
Yeah.
I'll investigate. And now we get to deal with how skill checks are done, which we can walk through.
So skill checks are really awesome in this game because in most games, probability and randomness is generated through dice rolls, which is fun, but this game changes it up a little bit, and it actually makes this game really cool in the sense that you can customize it a lot. So instead of rolling a die, what you do is you're going to draw from this box up here. This is called the Chaos Bag. Even though it's a book and it's a container, it's actually a bag. It's actually a bag. And inside the bag are a set of tokens, and they can be anything from just negative modifiers to special icons that activate based on this card over here, the scenario card. And what the scenario card does is that tells you if you draw, for example, a skull token, it's a minus X, where X is the number of ghoul enemies at your location. But if you're playing a different scenario, then drawing a skull token could mean something completely different. So every game has a customizable type of randomness that can come out of the Chaos Bag. In addition to that, what's really cool about this Chaos Bag is you can throw in different tokens based on how difficult you want the game to be. So every time you play a game, you can play it at a different level of difficulty. You can play everything from easy to standard to hard to expert, I think is the highest level. So this game has a lot of replayability when it comes to playing on expert, and of course it just gets harder and harder the higher the difficulty it is.
Oh, yeah, it gets crazy. Like there's modifiers in here just to kind of slightly spoil, to be like a +1 or +2, which is good. That helps you roll. But then there's also negatives, like -1, -2. So you'll deal with that. But the expert modes are nuts. There's like -8 modifiers in there. So this game can be pretty wicked. If you think you're pretty good at it, you can step it up.
We're on easy, right?
We're actually playing.
just checking.
We're actually playing on standard, which is like the normal. I have played it on easy, and it's really not that much easier. So it's a tough game. The other thing. So go ahead. I was just going to say the process for doing a skill check is. You start off with your basic skill that you're going to use. So, like I said earlier, you're going to start. Joe's going to start with his intelligence, which is 3. Then he has a choice to play any cards out of his hand that he wants. Now, the cards won't be played for the effect on the card, and they don't cost anything. But what he gets to do is on the left-hand side of the card, there's a bunch of a series of icons, and if they match the icon of the test he's doing, which is an intelligence test, then he gets to add 1 to his score, to his basic stat, for every icon that he sees that he plays cards. So you have a choice. You can either play cards for their abilities or their equipment, or you can play them to boost your skill tests.
Yeah, it gets tough to decide.
Yeah. So it's kind of a push your luck or tough decision making. The other thing that's cool is other investigators can assist Joe. If we're in the same room, each one of us can play a card out of our own hands, and we get to add those icons that are on the left-hand side to his skill check also.
Right. So it's often wise play. If you're doing a skill check, you might just make sure and ask the other people in your room, hey, no one had any modifiers, right?
Yeah.
Help out.
And then the nice thing is that once all of that's done, once all the cards are played, then Joe tallies up his total skill check. Then he's going to shuffle the Chaos Bag with the R key and then draw out a token, and I'll draw one out just to kind of show what it looks like. I made them a little bigger.
That's mine.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's the one I drew.
Yeah, let's go with that.
So it's a 0, and then the nice thing is if his ability has not been reduced to 0 or lower, then he... Oh, I'm sorry, that's not true. We subtract the modifier if it's subtractable, or technically we add it. And then once that's done, we compare it to the difficulty of the test. And the difficulty for investigation is the shroud value of the room, which is 2. So at the end of all of this addition and token drawing and everything, if his total is 2 or greater, then he succeeds at the test and he finds a clue.
Let's do it.
All right.
I am a 3, so I'm kind of intelligent. As you can see from Daisy, Al's character, she's a 5, so she's going to be our stud investigator, just to point that out. But I'm a 3. I don't have any cards to modify for me. I don't know if anyone else does. Not that you have to.
So you're 1 ahead right now?
Yeah, I'm just 1 ahead, but I'm hoping that'll be enough.
So we can play any card or just skill cards at this time?
Just skill cards, and they have to match the intelligence symbol.
I actually do have something I can help you.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind.
You don't want to get rid of her? Okay.
I have a good one, too.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so do you want me to play mine first, or do you want to play yours?
Well, do we play them one at a time, or does everybody have to say it? I can't remember how it goes.
Well, we can decide if we're both, or if just one, or who first.
Because the only reason I'm thinking is I can pay 2 to get another action, so maybe if we want to split up the 2 helpful, I could possibly get 2 clue tokens.
Okay.
We can talk about what cards we have, right? Like, that's not cheating.
So it says in the rule you can't say specifically what cards you have, but you can say
Okay.
I can help with your investigation or something like that.
Oh, okay. I can help.
All right.
Oh.
So-
Let's go with Al's help
Yeah,
on this
yeah,
one.
let's do
And I may spend 2 to do another one.
We
Okay.
also want to bear in mind that we have to take our own turns too, and probably also investigate. So
right.
Yeah,
Right.
you're probably safe with 5, but like I have 3. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure I hold on
Okay.
to whatever I
I'll
have.
just put this down in the middle so that we can all check it out.
Gotcha.
All right. So
What do you
she's
think?
helping me. I'm now
Ooh.
4. All right.
Yeah, so
And this one gets us a bonus if it's successful.
right. So if it's successful, Joe gets an extra clue token. He finds more.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
that's cool.
Sweet. Oh,
Yeah.
the pressure. What if I screw
So
up?
you get the effects for the cards too, not just the bonus points.
If let's see, some cards if they'll say you if this test is successful, you get to draw a card. The person who plays the card is the one who gets to draw the card. But in this event, another clue is discovered. I guess it doesn't really matter if it's Joe or Al.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Thank you.
I love the artwork on this card, by the way. It looks like he's like looking at some demented Murloc,
Yeah.
like weird dragon thing.
Yeah.
So should I? Is that it? Yeah, let's keep it there. I think we'll. Or gosh, do we want to gamble? Because I'll get 2 now.
No. Let's just go with it. Let's go with that.
Okay, here I go. Got to pass. Crap!
Oh.
It's a skull. What does the skull mean?
So a skull is
Instant
only bad.
fail?
No, a skull is only bad if there are ghouls. So it's minus
Ah.
X. So it's technically a 0. There's no ghouls here. Which is
Yes!
Oh, cool.
Oh, we
What
did
is
it!
Isn't there an instant fail one too, though? What's that one?
yes,
It's like a pentacle.
It actually is a red.
A pentacle?
It's
Yeah.
it's a red set of tentacles.
Oh, it's tentacles.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was studly.
Wasn't
Thank
sure
you,
what it
Al.
was.
So I just
Yeah, no
ripped 2
problem.
clues.
This is the
In
auto
one
fail
shot.
token.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Because there are. What's the pentacle thing on?
Oh, the
Like
elder, the elder sign. The
Yeah,
elder
yeah.
sign. Yeah. So it's actually a good. It's not a satanic one. It's a good one. It's one of the good ones.
You know, it
Well,
kind of
good
looks
one.
like
I know.
a heart. Like it looks like a good token. Like, oh,
Yeah,
I
it
love
does.
you.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah.
So that was awesome, and I'm sorry for being a hog, but I am going to use my hero ability and pay 2 resources, and give myself 1 more action.
I don't think that
Do I
makes
just
the hog. We
discard?
all want
Oh,
this.
nice.
Yeah,
We're-
that's discarded. So I am going to investigate again. I'm at a 3, just like I was this last time, and again, I don't have anything to plan myself. I don't know if anyone else has anything.
I'll go ahead and play something because I don't know if I'm going to investigate on my turn.
Well,
Okay.
actually, so we got the 2 clues. Does that end this round, or do we keep playing to the end of all of our turns?
We actually have to
Right.
find 2 clues per investigator to be able to get
Oh,
out
that's
of the room.
right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Get them all.
Yeah, so we actually
Yeah.
can get all 8.
Okay.
So, Gabe, you're helping me, you think?
Yeah, I actually have the same exact deduction, so I'm
Oh, nice.
great minds.
Oh, the pressure again.
Yep.
All right, here we go. So now that gives me 1, right? So that makes
Shake
me
it up. Shuffle.
4. All right.
I like that dark star, a pentacle.
Oh, but 4 negative 2. That's a tie, and we win on ties.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Yay!
That's it for me. And just as a reminder, Gabe, it is like 5 past 1 hour. You said
Yeah,
to take
so
a
we're
break.
we're gonna take a break since Joe's turn finally finished, and which is something we didn't ever think was gonna happen. We'll come back. We'll come back after a couple minute break. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.